Hey everybody, this is the Slightest Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead. I finally finished it after rewatching it after so many years. I still have the same opinion of it. I still think it's better than Season 1. Not as good as The Walking Dead, but it is a major step improvement. There was a lot of character development, depth, action, but it wasn't a good zombie apocalypse show because at times there was barely any zombies in there. But when there was zombies, it was pretty good. One thing I would give it up to Fear the Walking Dead is that they always had more, better, gruesome zombie deaths. Like, I'm not talking about, I mean, it was gross. I mean, the things that they did on that show, from Nick punching his thumbs into this one dude's eyes, to all kind of stuff. Like, ugh, it was just gruesome. And this, of course, after the whole Negan baseball bat thing, this is when the violence got toned down in both shows. Now, like I said before, this was a major step improvement from season 1. Season 1 was very dull and boring, and it did not feel like a zombie show. This still doesn't feel like no zombie show, but it was a lot better action-packed, dramatic, a whole lot of character depth and development. However, it still has its flaws, major flaws. It literally tried to be The Walking Dead Season 2. Like, I kid you not. There were so many similarities, it's insane. So, okay, one first similarity is that they left their original place in Season 1, and now they're going much further out. Now, in this season, they went out on a boat. And the boat stuff was really interesting. I really enjoyed some of the boat stuff, especially when they started meeting other characters and zombies. However, one major problem I had with season 2 is that every time they would come up with a storyline, it will end in about 2 or 3 episodes and never get like fully resolved. They would just leave new characters they introduced just like hanging, you know, kind of like the survival family that tried to suicide themselves. It's kind of like, you know, it would have been interesting to keep them on that island and deal with those people. But that got wrapped up very quickly. It was nice drama, and it was interesting how things led up and how things got crazy so fast. And it would have made this whole season more juicier if they kind of would stay there just for a bit longer. Then, of course, there was all that pirate stuff, and that got wrapped up very quickly. It was kind of broken up in a couple of episodes, and they would go on other episodes and do other stuff, but then they would bring it all back. And yeah, the whole Alicia pirate thing, okay, I get where she was coming from. She said she just wanted somebody to talk to. She was lonely. She's not going to talk to a bunch of adults that were on a boat. She doesn't really get along with her brother all that much, and Chris is now turned into a much darker character after his mom died. So she didn't have nobody to talk to, so she just went talking to random strangers on the little radio and communication system. But she ended up talking to some pirates, and when she ended up talking to Jack, it seemed like she was almost having feelings for him. Which, by the way, Alicia, your like boyfriend literally just died in season 1, and not that much time passed. So that's kind of messed up. But all of California is gone now, and so is her boyfriend is mega gone, because the military blew it up. And so with the pirate stuff was really interesting, because they could have been the entire season's long villain. First, we get introduced to the Alex character who was on the plane that I've talked about before, and you know, it crashed down, and there was some nice zombie action on the island. We got to see Chris be a much darker character. We kind of see him almost being more sympathetic. Like, he's more adventurous now, and he saw this man who he tried to rescue, but the man literally was dying, and there was nothing he could do. So the man asked him to kill him, and Chris did it, and Chris felt bad about it. And so we were starting to think for a second, okay, maybe the Chris character is getting better, but he doesn't. He's starting to love the idea of killing. Seriously, what is up with these young characters in Fear the Walking Dead, where it's like young teen characters enjoy killing and turning to villains? And so I don't get that. And so when they get back on the boat, like I said before, Strand doesn't want that woman, Alex, and that one guy on the boat because he just wants to hurry and get to Mexico to be with his boyfriend. And so he leaves her stranded. This makes her want revenge. So when the pirate people rescue her, she tells them she will give them that boat and all them people on there, but she just wants Travis. Now, I've said it before, it didn't make sense as to why she wanted Travis and not Strand. But they went to go when the pirates captured Travis and Alicia. Alicia, she rescued herself. And now all the pirate people are dead except for 3 people now. And for the most part, those are the good ones, except for like the pregnant lady. So it's kind of like Alicia really didn't need nobody's help to get rescued because she was able. She's a very smart, capable character, you know. Now, when they got to Mexico, this is when the stuff started to drag down for me because it started to like feel more a little bit like The Walking Dead. And so with that, we get another similarity. Okay, so first we get a similarity in the lady who runs her own household, where she has her one son, I think his name is probably Pablo or something like that, and the one dude who's Strand's boyfriend, who she calls her son. I don't think he is. He's just like a really good family friend. Now, her similarity is that of Herschel. She believes that, these zombies aren't all that bad. One day they might be cured, and this is the way the world is now, and you have to see the light. She was very much like him. She was stubborn, she was delusional, and she took in a group of people who she's never met before and had them stay at her place. And just like with Herschel, he really didn't want them there, and she really didn't want them people there because they didn't feel the same way she did about the zombies. Another similarity is fire. Herschel's farmhouse burnt down because Rick set on fire to draw the zombies in and distract them. The lady lost her home because Daniel had some PTSD from his bad time when he was like, one of those interrogating type people. And so he burnt that house down. I'm just like, so that's kind of weird. Herschel's place burnt down and her place burns down. Speaking of Daniel, they kind of did his character wrong in this season because okay, first he was still his stubborn self, and I liked him on the boat. He figured out what Strand was up to because he can just figure things out really fast because he's trained that way and stuff. And he didn't trust Strand because you can't trust Strand. He's a bad person. And so once they got to Mexico, then all of a sudden they wrote him with PTSD for some bizarre reason. And he started to feel bad about all the stuff he did in the past. Now, him and his daughter Ophelia, she said she's upset at him. She sees him as a monster because of all the stuff she's now finding out about him from the stuff he did in the past. But then once they get into Mexico, she starts to forgive him and, she starts to move on with her life. But then they totally get rid of the Daniel character when he sets the place on fire. I assumed when I first watched this years ago that he died in the fire, but then it turned out he didn't. And so this is what doesn't make no sense about this. He survived the fire, and he made his way back to America without the group and without his daughter. Why didn't he go searching for them? He loves his daughter to death. That made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And then there is the Ophelia character who makes no sense. The writers literally didn't know what to do with Ophelia in this season, and they pretty much wrote her as a background character. When she was on the boat, she was shot and hurt, and she just did absolutely nothing. And then when they got to Mexico, when they got to that lady's house, she still did nothing. But then when they got to the hotel, now she's told like Chris before that there's a lot of stuff her dad doesn't know about her. Because for the most part, she grew up sheltered, but she did have a wild side when she snuck away. And she would sneak back to the Mexico and stuff. And so we find out in the hotel, she's given up on life. She thinks they're all gonna die. When her and Alicia is trying to clear out the zombies, she ditches Alicia. And she just takes the truck and she leaves. And so when we find her next, this is a couple of episodes in, we find her next, and we just see her going all around Mexico by herself, surviving. She's now turned into more of an Andrea's character. See, people on this show are based off of one or two characters from The Walking Dead. She's a little bit of Andrea. She was cowardly at first. She thought they were all gonna die, and then she turned into this warrior type person. And with that hammer, she was a warrior. She was taking out zombies left and right. But it didn't make no sense as to why she left the group, and she didn't go back looking for Daniel. And next thing we know, we just see her going all around Mexico. She goes to this restaurant, and there's a flashback episode. She had a fiance from America. And so she decides, okay, she's gonna head back to the border in Mexico. She crosses it and she's walking the desert. And then that's when she meets our villain for season 3, the ranch dude, the racist man. It's like her character was so wasted in this season. She basically did nothing. Her motives made no sense whatsoever. It's like Strand's motive made more sense than hers. It's like they literally could not write her nothing. And then I remember in season 3, she shows up like a couple of episodes halfway in, and she's a completely different character now. And then they just killed her off. And they killed her off because they could not find nothing to do with her. And it's such a shame. She could have been such a great character and stuff. And just like Andrea from season 2, towards the end, we see Andrea trying to escape the zombies, been deserted by her people. And then as she's fighting all zombies and trying to make it safe, she ends up meeting a new character for season 3, Michonne. It's like there are too many similarities in this season. Then we get to the Clarks. Nick. I still don't like Nick whatsoever. He is now learning more and more about zombies and how to interact with them as time goes on. But then he does this strange thing when he's at the house. He wants to stay there with the crazy lady because he feels him and her are bonded, connected. They see the zombies for what they are, as people who are just sick and stuff like that, not as monsters and all this other crap. So when the place burns down, him and his mom, because this is why I messed up in my first video a long time ago. I said that she kicked him out. No, he left on his own. He did not want to be with them no more because she didn't see things the way he did. He's more adventurous. He's a thrill seeker. Him and zombies are kind of like one. They're people. He sees them as people and stuff. So he leaves their group. But then he has that solo episode. Now, the first time I did watch that solo episode, I never watched it again because I just don't want to watch a Nick-centered episode. But then he goes to Mexico, finds this town, meets Luciana, and now he's acting like a normal person. No longer is he this rebel. No longer is he this person who feels one with the zombies. So what was all that crap before? Why did he all of a sudden personality change? And I know people personalities change at the drop of a dime on The Walking Dead, but seriously, this was just like too fast and too weird. It made no sense. He literally could have stayed with his family. And then when he is in that other place, that town, he kind of takes on like a secondary leader or a third leader role and stuff, and he steps up. He cares about these people. He wants to save these people. He is tangling with the gang drug people with these people. And it's to the point when he sees that the gang is about to tear this place up and take it, he has the smarts to leave. And and it's just like, and then of course when he does leave and get everybody else to leave, they go back to the border in the United States, and then that's when they get captured by the evil people of season 3. And of course, Nick's relationship with Luciana is very similar to that of Glenn and Maggie. And like I said before in this other video, Luciana is very similar to that of Maggie and stuff. Now, one thing I wanted to point out that I just found out when researching this is that, okay, this second season took primarily in Mexico. They filmed in Mexico. A lot of their background characters are Mexican. However, the recurring characters and main characters are not Mexican. First, let's look at Chris. Now, it's never been stated what race his mom and him is, but for him, it's stated as being half Maori and half, I probably said that wrong. It's that New Zealand race, and also half Spanish. But they don't say what type of Spanish. I don't know if he's Mexican or Puerto Rican or like whatever, Now, I always assumed that Chris was, half like from the New Zealand part and half probably Mexican because they from California, and most people from California are Mexican. So I assumed that about him and his mom. Chris is not even Hispanic whatsoever. He is Italian, but he's playing like two different races. Could they not find one of the other two races? Like, why did they get like an Italian character? I don't understand that. I thought the dude was straight up Mexican when I first saw him many years ago. Now, the actress that plays his mom, she's actually Puerto Rican. And so I'm like, okay, maybe she's not Mexican. Maybe her character is Puerto Rican. But they live in California. Like I said before, most Puerto Ricans kind of like live in Florida and more New York, and most Mexicans live in like California and stuff. Then there is Daniel. I forgot what his race is in real life. But the character plays a Mexican dude. But in real life, the actor is not even Mexican. I forget what he is, but he ain't got no Mexican in him. And it's like, was it really that hard to find like a Mexican person? Was it really that hard to find like George Lopez? And then there's Ophelia. She's not Mexican either. Now she was born in Sweden, but she's Iranian. That's not even Hispanic. That's like, how hard is it to find Mexican people, man? Seriously. If you thought Luciana was Mexican like I did, boy, you will be in for something. Because she's not. I forgot what she is. She might be Pan-Iranian or something like that, or I can't really remember what I saw online, but she's not Mexican either. She's playing a Mexican character. And it's like, where are all the Mexicans at? Alejandro? Oh, he's not Mexican either. He's something else. And it's just like, dude, where are all the Mexican people for this show? They couldn't even find Mexican people. Now, Daniel's wife, she's Mexican. The hotel lady, she's actually Mexican. And it's like, that's all they could really find? Then we get into Madison and Alicia. Now, Madison, she's mainly at first hanging out with Strand until he got injured. And when she's hanging out with Strand, she's just drinking and she's feeling bad for herself. She lost her real life husband. She lost Travis. She lost Nick. She feels like she's a terrible person and she's just a huge failure in life. And we see this really great emotional scene with her where she's drinking, she's getting drunk, and she's just throwing glass bottles like everywhere. And because she's just really upset, she feels like a literal failure. And not only that, but she has lied to both her kids about their dad and their death. Now, the whole thing about the dad, her husband, and how he killed himself, that was really pointless. Like, I didn't understand why they brought that into the show. It didn't change anything with Alicia and Madison. It was just an added tiny subplot that went absolutely nowhere. What happened with Alicia's dad is that she assumed he got drunk behind the wheel or something like that and ran into a tree. No, he committed suicide. He wrote a note, said he loves them, but he just can't take it no more. And he kills himself. And it's like, what was the point in that storyline? It made absolutely no sense. Then there is Alicia. She is slowly turning into the warrior we all know her to be in Love Now in later seasons. But she's still very, very green. Like, we see her don her famous ponytail in one episode as she's about to take care of zombie business. But she doesn't take care of zombie business really, because she gets interrupted by this one lady who lives in the hotel. But with the Alicia character, like, the boat stuff was interesting with the pirate stuff. And then when she gets into like Mexico, it's mainly just she have it out with Chris because Chris tried to let his mom, try to let Madison get eaten by zombies. And then, Alicia kept trying to say, oh, he's evil, 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 but Travis didn't want to listen. And then we see her at the hotel and it's just basically just nothing really. It's just she's there, but it's not really nothing to hold on, no gravitas to it, It's her and Madison, they talk it out, and she gets upset about the dad part, but that's really about it. It just really didn't go nowhere with her in season 2. Now, Chris, boy, that dude went off the rails big time. I understand he's upset that his mom died. And I understand he's upset his dad killed him, but he knows exactly why his dad killed his mom, because she was turning. I do not understand why he turned as evil as he did, as quickly as he did. He really enjoyed killing. Slowly and slowly, by episodes were passed, he turned darker and started killing folks. When he got to Mexico, he almost let Madison die by zombies. Then he snuck into Alicia and Madison's room with a knife in his hand, gonna kill them. because he doesn't like Madison no more, which doesn't make no sense because in season 1 he loved Madison and stuff. He got along with her. She was the only person who believed him when his dad didn't want to believe him. So I don't understand why his character changed that much so badly. And then it's just like he took that one kid hostage and threatened to shoot him just because he wanted his dad to leave him alone. The characters turned him into like a Shane character, but they turned him too quickly. Like with Shane, we still liked for the most part, but with Chris, we just straight up hated this dude. And then he ended up meeting those bad boys, and more he felt like, oh, we need them, Dad. We need them. Oh no, wait. First, before that, him and his dad left to be on their own because his dad wanted to try to help him, and he knew Chris was too dangerous to be around regular people. And then after that, Chris all of a sudden turns nice again for a while when he's just with his dad. But he hates his dad. That didn't make no sense. Then he meets those bad boys and he turns bad again, talking about, Dad, we need them. We need them to survive. He ended up murdering a defenseless man who tried to defend his home because they broke in there and started stealing his chickens. And Chris just straight up killed him. And like I said in this other video, that was some of the most humbling stuff with Travis. Is like, we saw how good Travis could be and everything. But then Chris goes off with those bad boys. And then when he runs off the road, they murder him. When he's pleading with his life, he had a broken leg, they straight up murdered him. And it's like, I remember when this show first came out, people were talking about like online, like, could the Fear the Walking Dead have its first villain? They're talking about Chris. And it's just like they turned this odd, interesting character into like a vicious character, and then they just straight up got rid of him. Like for the most part, he was okay in season 1, he had an attitude, but in season 2, he was just monstrous. The writers did not know what to do. Now, speaking of the bad boys he hung out with, this is still very similar to The Walking Dead. Halfway into the series, Rick, Herschel, and Glenn, they're at a bar and they meet these bad guys. And just like with the Fear the Walking Dead bad guys, they try to charm the new guys. They act like they're nice, but they're shady. And then they turn straight bad, trying to kill people and stuff. And it's very similar to what happened in The Walking Dead. Even so much that, okay, Randall, he gets shot in the leg. No, Randall gets stabbed in the leg. He falls on the gate. And Fear the Walking Dead, this one dude gets shot in the leg. Then the dude who gets shot in the leg, he ends up dying because his friends kill him. But then in The Walking Dead, Randall ends up dying because Shane didn't trust him and he ended up murdering him. Why are there so many similarities? It's like the writers didn't know what to do. So they're like, hey, let's just copy the second season of The Walking Dead. Even more similarities. It's like the debate of what to do with the bad people. They debated what they're going to do with Randall. They debated what they're going to do with the two bad boys. And it's just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And then Randall dies. The bad guys at the bar dies. And these bad guys on Fear the Walking Dead, they get murdered by Travis. Speaking of Travis, he was one of the better parts of this season. He had so much heart and emotion when he tried to save Chris that it was really the heart of this entire series. And it really made you feel. You felt bad for Travis. His son is a monster. We all got that one family member that's like really bad and we don't know what to do with him, And that's something you can relate to when you watch this season. However, like Travis, he has a good amount to do until they wrote him off with the whole Chris stuff and then they brought him back in the season. And it's like, like I said before, I made a whole video about the whole Travis thing, so go watch that. I really don't feel like going in that again. So let's see, who is else? Strand. I still don't like Strand, but I'm like, oh, that's nice. He wanted to just be with his boyfriend, but he didn't have to be a jerk about it with the whole boat stuff. And then when he does get to Mexico, his boyfriend got sick and died. And then after that, people kept just wanting to kick Strand out of the place, so they had to leave. Then the boat's gone. They find the whole hotel thing. And when they find the hotel, he helps this woman, the lady from Desperate Housewives. He helps her with her daughter because her daughter got zombified. But then, a strange turn of events, she turns around and stabs Strand. So in a way, I was probably like, yay, the mean dude is finally gone. But because of the whole boyfriend crap, I ended up kind of liking Strand after a while. Now, the hotel people. These people had like split personalities. Okay, so there's a group of people at a hotel at a wedding. Some American people in a Mexican hotel. And the mom wants to leave because the zombie stuff is starting to break out. The lady who works at the hotel, she's all like, oh, it's not going to be here. But then somebody turns. And then a couple other people turn. So the hotel lady, she ends up just locking them all in a room, killing them all, except for 3 people. And so, like, when the 3 people do find her, they're pissed off, mad. And they want her dead. But Madison's group, they convinced the American people not to kill this woman. She made a bad mistake. She got scared and she made that terrible mistake and she feels terrible about it. So it's like they forgive her. And then they decide to all live in the hotel all together. And then that one crazy lady stabs Strand. And so they decide, okay, we're just going to lock her in the room, but we're not going to kill her. Madison, who's the new Rick of this show, she makes the rules of the hotel. And the rules are simple. If you harm anybody in any kind of way, you're gone, period. This rule came out to bite her in the butt. So when she finds out that when she finds out Nick is still alive and he's about 15 miles away, she tries to signal him because she's very desperate. She loves her son so much, she will do anything, even compromise the hotel. She broke her rule of not turning on the light at night, and she turns it on. This alerts so many people in Mexico, even Travis. Madison takes a playbook out of Strand and tells these people when they show up at the gate, they cannot come into the hotel, they cannot live there, it's only them. Now granted, there's about 17 floors to this hotel. There's plenty of rooms, but she don't want these people there. There's only a small handful of people living in the hotel, and she wants it all for herself. Then she sees Travis, and she lets him in. This, of course, is going to anger the people. So she decides, okay, we'll let y'all come into the garage area. You can stay there, but you can't come in the hotel. And we'll give you like food, water, and medical supplies. And that's what they do. Then, after Travis finds out that boy is crazy son, he murders both them 2 bad boys, and he injures an innocent man, one of the Americans who was staying at the hotel, and he puts him in a coma. Now, because Travis has done this, okay, Madison rule is now in place. He must now leave. So first they imprison him in a room. Madison wants to go there. Now this is where things turn strange. The hotel lady and the American people and the hotel lady's cousin, nephew. They have now all turned on Madison's people. They want Travis gone. They will not even let Madison in the same room with Travis. They say he is a danger, he is evil, he has to go, he's a terrible person. Granted, the hotel lady murdered all those people when she got scared. The American people who survived that, they wanted to kill her. This is kind of a weird, strange of events that they now have flipped. And now they went from killers to, this dude killed some bad people. Well, now he has to leave. But it ain't like he killed good people. You know what I'm saying? And then her nephew, he turned the most. He's all like, oh, he has to go. He has to go. And it's just like, he's a bad person. And it's like, dude, your aunt murdered all those people and them people tried to murder y'all. Y'all are hypocrites and stuff. Now, of course, they all leave and stuff like that. And it's just like, I'm just like, I don't get this season. It's just like, it is better than the first, but it is not as good as the second season of The Walking Dead. And then there are all the weird similarities that are just strange and bizarre, but it was done so much better on The Walking Dead. And it's just like, I don't get that. It's just like storylines were concluded within like 3 or 4 episodes. they had so many similarities to characters in The Walking Dead. And it's just like, why didn't they do their own thing? Why didn't they just stay on the boat and keep going to like island after island and interacting with people and bad stuff would happen, or pirate stuff? They should have kept one primary villain for the series or the season and not have multiple ones. You know, them bad boys who Chris was hanging out with, they could have been like huge villains of the show, and Chris could have been too. And it could have been an emotional thing where Chris has to now decide, is he gonna stick with the bad boys or he gonna kill his own people, you know? And then there's all the stuff in the Tijuana village with Nick, Luciana, and Alejandro. Now, Alejandro is a man who got bit, and Luciana saw him get bit, but he did not turn. And it turns out the person who bit him was just a regular human person who was a drug addict, but they assumed it was like a zombie person. So he lies to people and tells them he is immune. They follow him, they worship him. He is a false prophet. Now, the stuff with his character, you could tell something was up with him. 'Cause we knew like 5 seasons in, this does not happen on The Walking Dead. So we knew he was lying. And of course, when they find out, it's a big revelation, but it's not like a huge blow up. And it's just like, that could have been something. That could have been like the meat and potatoes of the big blow up, and something to sink your teeth into, but it kind of got watered down a little bit. And so, like, that stuff is kind of like what kind of weighed the series down a little bit. And he would literally make people who got really bit go out into the rest of the zombies and get eaten by the zombies and stuff. It's like when his character finally died, I was happy. Now, the Ophelia character, I've already talked about her in this other separate video. I talked about how the writers let her down. She went from being like the Maggie of the show into like the Enid or like the Tara of the group or the Beth. And it's just like, I don't understand. They literally could not find nothing to do with her character this entire season, to the point where they wrote her off and she went off by herself. And this really weird solo mission type thing of like flashbacks, and it made no sense. The whole thing with her and her fiance, the flashback with that did not go absolutely nowhere. What was the point in even bringing that up? It's like, it just made no sense. Now, one thing I found interesting about this season is that when they were in Mexico, they spoke a lot of Spanish. There was a lot of characters that spoke Spanish. That made sense. They are in Mexico, after all. However, I didn't understand what anybody was saying. And trying to read the subtitles, you know, they go by so quickly, it's like, ugh, you know what I'm saying? But this one thing that didn't make no sense is the main characters is like, it don't make no sense. First, when they say they don't know that much Spanish, then all of a sudden they speak fluent Spanish, and then they go back to not speaking it. And it's like, make up your minds, writers. Either they know a little bit or they know a lot, and keep it one way or the other. If they say they know a little, then make them only know a little. If they say they know a lot, then of course make them know like a lot. But it seemed like all of them knew Spanish. That made absolutely, it is kind of weird that every single last one, even the white ones, knew Spanish and stuff. And it's just like, and they spoke it very good until plot needed them to not understand it, you know? I didn't talk about the drug gang. So there's a drug Mexican gang in, of course, Mexico. And they are some of the people who wants to take the village in Tijuana away from Nick and Luciana and stuff. And they were really interesting. And kind of like in The Walking Dead, they're kind of like the essays. They're tough, but they also have a heart of gold because they try to like help people and stuff. And so they run this grocery store. Pretty much you have to trade with them to get whatever you want. And so they get to the point where they also, you know, they want the Tijuana village and stuff. Well, you know, Alejandro doesn't want to give it to them, and even Luciana doesn't want to give it to him. And so it's like, she was that tough the way she was willing to fight and die for her village, because she doesn't really have much of a home, she said, and needed other people. Now, they could have been great protagonists or antagonists or whatever you call it in this season, but they just only show up in sporadic episodes. Now, we do see how gruesome they are, because they do murder a family, a husband, wife, and their daughter, a little daughter. And so they are dangerous, but it's kind of like, they wasn't really the primary villain of like this season. They should have been, though. Another similarity between the lady at the house, whose name's Celia, and Herschel is that Celia has zombies stored in her cellar. As we all know, Herschel had zombies stored in his barn. Now, what made it more special and done so much better in The Walking Dead is that when they found out that Herschel had zombies in his barn, we knew that like zombies were like an extremely dangerous threat, and they're like hundreds of thousands and thousands and thousands. And when they all gather, it's very dangerous. We didn't know that Herschel had them because we didn't know he was like a little nutty in the head. Also, he was a bit nicer at sometimes. Also, like what made it even more special is that like the way it was found out. See, Glenn and Maggie were hooking up, and I think he was looking for a place to hook up in secret. So he went out to the barn. She had no idea at first. And then when he saw it, it was like an oh my God kind of moment. And then here she is behind him with a freaky look on her face talking about, I wish you didn't find this. And then it ends just like that. And I'm thinking to myself, oh God, she's probably gonna like kill him or something like that. But then she doesn't. And then he keeps it a secret for like all of like a couple of like hours and stuff. Then he like tells everybody in a very frantic kind of way. Well, we see everybody at the barn just kind of like looking through the cracks and seeing the zombies. And then we see Shane like freak out like, oh man, see, I told you this man's crazy in the head. It doesn't have that same feeling when it's in the Fear the Walking Dead. I forgot how they found out zombies were in the cellar. I think Celia actually took somebody down there and showed them. Which is like, okay, so she shows them that, and it's just like they don't discover on their own and think it's a big threat. It just doesn't have that same feeling as The Walking Dead, you know? Now, the whole thing with the bar scene and the guys and the bad people. With Fear the Walking Dead, we know straight up these guys are bad and stuff, because when Chris was walking into that one place, he saw 2 dead people on the floor, and they were shot in the head. So the only people who could have done that is the 3 guys in the that building. So we knew straight up that they're like scary. So it's kind of like, uh-oh, like we have something to fear, you know what I'm saying? But then they start acting all charming. Now with The Walking Dead, it's just 2 random guys who stroll up on the bar. And they're talking, but it's tense because you see Rick's face the whole time, and him with his hand near his weapon and stuff, and him not really divulging too much information. It's dark, whereas Fear the Walking Dead was light, and it's just Rick, Glenn, and Herschel, and Rick is the only one with a weapon. And so it's like it's a little bit more of a tense moment. Like, yeah, Fear the Walking Dead is more like, oh my God, you know, we know they're evil. But with Walking Dead, we're not 100% sure, but we know they seem shady. Now with the whole will they, won't they kill Randall thing, as opposed to what is Travis and the rest of the people going to do with the bad boys, with Randall, it was an entire group situation. See, the entire group was not killers at that time, except for Shane. And they had a really hard time deciding if they should imprison him for life, or if they should like let him go back to his people, or if they should like just straight up kill him. It was one of the biggest debates The Walking Dead has ever had. And it was one of those round table type of debates, you know. It just kept going back and forth in circles, and every point they made was good, whether it was to let him go back to his people, imprison him, or kill him and stuff, because he was a threat. But what if he truly wasn't? That we really don't know. He kept saying, oh, all them other guys he hang with, they're bad and he's good. Maybe he was telling the truth. I mean, you know, he never did try to harm anybody once he got back to that the farmhouse and stuff. Now, with Fear the Walking Dead, we know straight up, get rid of these dudes. They're bad. They kill innocent people. They're rude. They're nasty. They steal from folks. They don't care about nothing or nobody on their property. And so they're just real jerks. They're douches, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, then when we later find out that they killed Chris, then it's kind of like, who really cares? You know what I'm saying? It's Chris and stuff. I mean, yeah, we feel bad for Travis, but we don't care because it's Chris. Then another strange similarity is the bad boys with the hurt leg. Randall had his leg impaled, while the other dude had his leg shot. And so it's kind of like the person who killed Randall was Shane, and he did it because he went nuts in the head. And he was the one who went from being a good guy and turned himself into a bad guy. Now, with Fear, Chris didn't kill the dude who got his leg shot, but he held his father down and tricked his father while the other two dudes came in and killed the guy. So he was an accomplice nevertheless. And of course, Chris was the Shane character of that show. It's just so weird how they just copied and pasted from one show to another one and then changed stuff around. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.